that it's followed across projects, across technologies, right? So the first thing is we talk about quality, right? So where does quality begin? Right? Quality begins at development. In fact, it begins before development also, right? So practically all projects today, what do? We are working in agile mode, right? So what does that mean? We have the concept of sprints. So what happens at the beginning of the sprint? There are a bunch of stories that have been created by me, by Anu, by Akshat, or by say Rahul or by Rohit, depending on project to project. Right? There are a whole list of stories, right? QA obviously goes and makes his test cases and things like that. But what do the developers do? What do we start with, right? At the beginning of the sprint, what do we have? We have a meeting called the sprint walkthrough, right? Sprint walkthrough, where we talk to, that's the first time the developers are seeing the ticket. Hopefully, some developers have read the ticket maybe the day before, and they come and we do the sprint walkthrough, right? So that is when the first time we're coming to know the requirements, right? Then the biggest problem that happens today is that we know the requirement, we immediately start, the developers goes back and starts working on one ticket, right? Before even doing anything else, right? So they start working on one ticket, and then they start facing some problems, and they come back and they ask either the tech lead or something that, oh, this is a problem, what do I do, right? So tickets get assigned right at the beginning of the sprint, okay? I don't have to show anything for that, right? Everybody understands this process, right? So in Expert Chat, we've sort of introduced this process now, which we want to carry forward to other projects as well, where we're sort of creating, the reason Expert Chat on two technologies, I would say. Python sort of took the lead, and then we moved to Android as well, where we sort of create a mini design document, right? The design document is not a design document in the sense, I'll show you a couple of examples also. It doesn't have to be very formal, but it's a way of basically understanding. And I've taken examples that Anup and Rakesh have made in the past, right? So basically it talks about ticket by ticket, what are we going to do in the ticket, right? From the developer's point of view, so that the developer or the immediate tech lead of that technology is going to say, not necessarily at the absolute function level, but either we're making a new class, or we're adding a new module, or what the API will look like, right? Because a lot of those details are not necessarily on the ticket, right? So the idea is to get a good picture of what the ticket is supposed to do, right? This doesn't take long. Every ticket, spend 10-15 minutes doing it, right? So in this case, we have, there will be a JSON field, these will be the model fields that I will create, right? But otherwise what happens, we create our own model field, then we realize, oh, it's not solving the problem, right? So good is to maybe say that, and this is the API, right? And this is an example of a backend ticket, right, that I'm showing you. So for example, there should be a new utility, should support cache, should be unit testable, right? So for example, social account, refresh token, add these fields in this, logging, what we need to log, right? And these are the APIs that will be generated, right? So similarly, there is a ticket for Android, right? This is say less detailed, but this is also good enough, right? So I'll make it a little bit long. Right? So for example, you have to add an image video pop-up in Android, right? So this was the description of the ticket. So again, Rakesh will spend maybe 10 minutes per ticket, 5 minutes per ticket doing this. Rakesh and Nikhil work. So create a title, right? Then the idea is you have to pass the image URL to the dialog, right? So the idea is that we have a new dialog that we're creating. So this is like a front-end ticket, right? So even in Angular, for example, we're using a new dialog, right? So if you're creating a new dialog, what do you need to pass to the dialog, right? And then scroll text from bottom to top, right? Or where should the focus be? So important things like that should be mentioned on what the implementation will look like. So are we reusing any old code that's already exists? Or are we creating some new thing? Right? Because a lot of projects are bigger projects where we can reuse a lot of these things, right? So even if we do this, so this is the first step of the process, right? So you create this design document. Now this design document should be created for every sprint going forward, right? At the beginning of the sprint. Again, it doesn't take much time. It usually takes 1 hour, 2 hours for the entire sprint for those tickets, right? So this is good time spent, because what will happen as you're creating this, there will be 10 questions that come out. And Rakesh has 5 questions that came out. Anup had 10 questions that came out, because then in your head it's very clear what you have to do, because ticket is written by either me or somebody else who's giving you the requirements. When as a developer you look into the code and you see these are the changes I have to make, the clarity of the ticket becomes absolutely clear, right? So going forward, let us ensure that this process is followed for all future sprints as we start a new sprint across all technologies, right? So be it Python, be it PHP, be it Angular, be it Android, right? Be it even HTML for that matter, right? You should potentially even do it for that case, right? QA obviously makes its own test cases, which is their interpretation of the same thing, right? So that's step number 1. Okay. Then, clear? Any questions on this before I move forward? Okay, so again, spend 1-2 hours before this. Trust me, this will help you in the time also, because at that time itself you will know whether the estimates are correct. Right? A lot of times people come back and say, oh, after they start doing the work, right? After we start doing the work, oh, by the way, this ticket we have to do these 3 other things also. Therefore, the estimate is not possible. Right? So the idea is to spend time on each ticket, 15 minutes, 20 minutes on each ticket, to understand what the complexities are and whether the estimate matches up or not, because the implementation details match up or not as well. Right? So all of it, and when you're in development, then it becomes much easier. Create this and get this reviewed from the immediate tech lead person who's reviewing it, right? So that, and then gradually you get confidence that everybody should be able to do it themselves also, right? Start with maybe the tech leads doing it, or people who are confident they can try to do it themselves. You want to give an opportunity to everybody to do this themselves. But the idea is that this should be done, so that it's clear in the developer's mind what needs to be done, right? Any questions so far? No? Okay. So this is the first step, which is called the designing phase, right? Basically, QA starts at development, right? Second step is the coding, right? So now we're starting coding. So before we start coding, everybody should know there are coding guidelines that we have created in different projects, or we've shared with the client that we are going to use, right? How many of you know your coding guidelines? I have read your technology coding guidelines at Atlogys, not general coding guidelines. The Atlogys versions of the coding guidelines that you're supposed to use. Oh, okay. Some of you, okay? So what we have done is, it was in different places. I've gone and consolidated this link. It's on the Commons wiki. People know about the Commons, right? Everybody has an ID on this app.atlogys.com. The day 1, Pooja comes and she creates an ID for you on this. You get an email, right? If you don't know how to access this, please ask Pooja. I've listed out all the technical resources. I've created a wiki for this, right? Forget about the formatting, but it actually serves as a common place for all employees to come go and check, right? So language wise, I've listed out all the guidelines, right? What are going to be followed, right? So for example, there are some guidelines that we've created ourselves, that we've adapted from different ones and created a PDF. There are some that are very simple. For example, for iOS, we've just referenced the Apple Swift guide, right? So you should make sure that you're following this, right? In terms of grammar, in terms of so coding guidelines are usually made up of 2 parts. One is sort of the syntactical part, right, or the easy part in terms of tabbing versus spaces, naming conventions, functions, models, right? Then there's always some extra secret sauce on top of this. So that we've created for a few languages, and I'll show you. Right? This part everybody understands that these coding guidelines are maximum number of spaces, the word naming conventions, classes versus models versus class naming conventions, variable naming conventions, right? Some things to avoid, some common things to avoid, common things not to avoid. I don't have to walk through these, right? For example, setter classes should be like this, right? For example, these should be the type annotation that should be done, right? In terms of expressions and statements, what the declaration should look like, right? So if you go to declaration. Okay. So you can see basically examples of all cases and everything. I'll show you another example where I actually know. So then what we've done is, for PHP and for some languages, I've taken the help of some of the tech leads in the past or in the current and created coding guidelines specific to that language, which is a combination of external guidelines plus some specific things that are there to this language, right? So I'll walk over some of these things, right? So the earlier parts, naming convention, control structure, I don't have to walk through, right? Naming convention should be suffix, right? For example, boolean should be always is, right? If it's a boolean flag, it should always be is, should always be prefixed to it, right? There should always be a timestamp field which has an underscore suffix at the end, should always be timestamp, right? So those are small things. What a control structure, how an if and L should be placed, right? L should always start on the same line as an if. So there are very small things, but it makes sure that code is written consistently across developers for that technology. Because everybody reading it, then you get used to sort of reading it in that fashion as well, right? In terms of spacing before the bracket, after the bracket, these are very small things. I don't want to go through that. You guys can all read them, right? Databases, how to define, right? A lot of things we are talking about constants, right? This is a very common thing that we try to do across projects. Constants should always be defined in one single file. Basically, in the code, there should never ever be equal to 1, equal to 2. It should always be equal to user underscore